Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see the summary of Moll Flanders, a novel by Daniel Defoe. The full title of Moll Flanders is The Fortunes and Misfortunes of the Famous Moll Flanders. This is a picturesque novel and it was first published in 1722 and it is to be an autobiographical account of the life of the eponymous heroine and it details her exploits from birth until old age and she uses her wits, cunning and charm to provide herself with financial security. Moll Flanders informs that this is not her real name but an alias to protect her identity for legal reasons. She details her birth in Newgate prison to a mother who delayed execution by pleading her belly, that is, saying that she is pregnant, and it was a custom of postponing death by claiming pregnancy. And after giving birth, Moll Flanders' mother is given a reprieve on her sentence and she is transported to British America instead, while Moll ends up with the travelling Romani family from whom she escapes in the city of Colchester. A 3-year-old Moll is placed in the care of a kind nurse who encourages her dreams of becoming a gentlewoman. After her nurse dies, a teenage Moll becomes the servant of a wealthy family. There, she is seduced by the family's elder son who promises to marry her when he comes into his inheritance. But however, after the youngest son Robin unexpectedly confesses his love for Moll, the elder son reneges on his promise and convinces his parents to approve the marriage to his youngest brother. A devastated Moll marries Robin and has several children. Robin dies 5 years later. Moll leaves their children in the care of her in-laws and moves to London, where she passes herself off as a wealthy widow to attract a husband who can provide her with financial security. She marries a spendthrift tradesman and has another child who dies in infancy. After giving Moll a life of luxury, her husband runs afoul of his creditors and flees to France, instructing Moll to remarry as if he were dead. Moll takes refuge in the Mint and first begins to use the name Moll Flanders. She befriends a young woman who she helps to win back the affections of a man who had recently spurned her. The woman in turn introduces Moll to a wealthy captain who owns a plantation in Virginia, and Moll is soon married once again. Moll and her husband immigrate to his plantation where she is introduced to his mother. After 3 more children, one of whom dies, Moll learns that her mother-in-law is actually her own biological mother, and this makes her husband a half-brother. At the urging of her mother, Moll keeps the information to herself, but emotionally she withdraws from her marriage. And this drives her husband into depression until Moll is forced to reveal the truth to him. Since he is a half brother, they both agree to dissolve the marriage, and Moll returns to England, leaving her children in Virginia. Moll moves to Bath to seek another husband, where she befriends a married gentleman whose wife has been confined due to insanity. Their relationship becomes sexual, and Moll falls pregnant. She becomes kept woman with her gentleman, paying for lodgings in Hammersmith as she gives birth to their son. However, the gentleman later survives a near fatal illness and breaks off their arrangement. Moll leaves their son in his care, assured he will be well looked after. While masquerading as a wealthy widow in London, Moll attempts to lure a bank clerk into marriage but learns he is already married to an adulterous woman. Moll then befriends a woman who takes her on a trip to Lancashire, where she is introduced to the woman's brother, a supposedly wealthy gentleman named Jemmy. Moll and Jemmy marry, with the sister attending to Moll's fictitious fortune. While planning to move to Jemmy's estate in Ireland, each realize that the other is actually poor and that they have both been misled by Jemmy's sister, who is in reality merely an acquaintance. Jemmy discharges Moll from their marriage on the grounds of his destitution, but Moll realizes she has fallen in love with him. They spend a month in each other's company before eventually parting ways, with Jemmy assuring Moll she will inherit any money he should ever make. Shortly afterward, Moll discovers she is pregnant with Jemmy's child. She returns to London and takes on the services of a governess who gives Moll a tripartite scale of the cost of bearing a child. After Moll gives birth, her governess sees to it that her child is taken into the care of a country woman in exchange for a sum of £5 per year. Moll then resumes her communications with the bank clerk and learns he has divorced his wife. They are married in a rushed wedding ceremony, but the following morning, Moll witnesses Jemmy fleeing the scene of a highway robbery. Moll and a fifth husband live in happiness for several years until he unexpectedly loses his entire fortune and dies of despair. The fates of their two children together are left unstated. Now desperate, Moll slips into a life of thievery in order to make ends meet. She reunites with her old governess who has retired from her former career to become a fence for stolen goods. Moll avoids arrest for many years, gaining infamy among her peers. She briefly becomes the lover of a married gentleman she has previously robbed. Moll is later mistakenly arrested for a theft that she did not commit and earns a large settlement after she is proven innocent. Moll earns a small fortune from her crimes. Moll is eventually caught attempting to steal from a house and is sent to Newgate, where she is sentenced to death. She maintains contact with the governess, who blames herself for Moll's predicament. Moll befriends a prison chaplain and convinces him of a repentance, the sincerity of which is left ambiguous, leading the chaplain to petition for Moll's sentence to be reduced to transportation. At the same time, Moll reunites with Jemmy, who has been arrested for crimes he committed both before and after their marriage. She convinces him to request transportation so that they may resume their marriage and start a new life together. Moll arranges for her governess to send half of her fortune abroad. They ship in the form of goods but asks that she hold back the rest for the time being. She tells the captain into letting her and Jemmy stay in a private cabin away from other convicts who are sold into slavery upon arrival. A Quaker helps Moll and Jemmy establish a small plantation near Maryland. Moll learns that her mother has died. Her husband, or her brother, both are same, is now blind and infirm and has moved with the surviving son to a plantation in Virginia. Moll cautiously introduces herself to her son and is met with open arms and discovers that her mother has left her an inheritance of a plantation which her son will manage, providing Moll with an income of £100 per year. Moll makes him a heir, gifting him a stolen gold watch. Moll has her governess come over with the remainder of her fortune, making Moll extremely wealthy. After her husband brother dies, Moll tells Jemmy the story of the relationship and introduces him to her son. To Moll's surprise, Jemmy is understanding because he knows that it was all beyond their capacity, because they did not know that, she did not know that Jemmy was a brother and Jemmy did not know that she was a half sister. And in 1683, an elderly Moll concludes her narrative by revealing she and Jemmy are preparing to return to England to live in sincere penitence for the wicked lives we have lived. And here ends the story. If you have anything more to add on to what I've said, please write it in the comment box. Like the video, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe and support. Thank you.